Yo, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? So, sorry I've been, not really doing too many videos this week. I didn't do one after the Raiders game. I've been, really sick. I actually had a couple of kidney stones last week. Wednesday I got my first one, second one or Saturday I got my second one. So, Sunday I really wasn't feeling up to doing a live. But now that I finally passed both of them, I'm feeling a lot better. So I wanted to be on here and make this video. But with that said, I want to get into tonight's topic, which is the Broncos winning streak, and talk about, some other things that have happened with the Broncos. So here we go. So over the last 3 weeks, the Broncos have won three straight games. They beat Tampa in Tampa Bay 26-7. They go up to New York. They stay on the East Coast, mind you. They stay out there in Virginia, and then they go up to New York. They win a sloppy, ugly game against the Jets 10-9, which I'm not complaining. I really don't care how bad it looked. A win is a win. And then they come back home last week, with old uniforms, the 1977 uniforms. The stadium was all decked out. Like I was gonna go to that game. I had a buddy want to go. I just, like I said, I was sick. I really wasn't feeling well, so I decided not to go. But I did still watch the game, and but the week last weekend was just great. The old uniforms, they had the stadium looking, they had everything decked out, the field, all the legends that they had out there. It was an amazing weekend. And what made it even sweeter was a dominating win against the Raiders, the trash Raiders. Like, I am so happy we won that game. Yes, the Raiders, have beat us 8 straight times. I think the last time we beat them was the last game of the 2019 season when we had still Drew Lock. Drew Lock was the last quarterback to beat the Raiders. And it was the last time we beat the Raiders, they weren't even the Vegas Raiders. They were the Oakland Raiders. So it felt great to get the win. I mean, and like it wasn't even just a win, dude. It was a dominating performance. We crushed the Raiders. And I'm going to sit here and say this now. After we beat the Jets, you know, I just, me personally, after being in this purgatory for the last 10 years as a Broncos fan, just losing games like the Jets game and getting blown out by division rivals or getting just beat by division rivals, you know, and watching all the Broncos podcasts and stuff, talking about, oh my God, what are the Broncos going to do from here, this, that, and the other. It's nice to finally watch other teams' podcasts and watch them struggle. Watch their fans freak out to where it's not Bronco fans, the ones here sitting here like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're so, bad. Like, how are we going to change this? How are we going to fix it? So I watched a lot of Jets podcasts, and Jets fans were absolutely losing their mind about the fact they lost to the Broncos 2 weeks ago. And then I did the same thing this week, of course, I watched all the Bronco highlights. I watched a bunch of Bronco podcasts, but then I wanted to watch the Raiders podcast and see, dude, Raider fans, they are absolutely just losing it. Like, they're going AWOL, and it is funny to watch. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. The Raider fans, like, they have nothing. Like, over the years, Bronco fans, even when we were bad and we would lose those types of games, divisional games or really close, ugly games, we always had maybe a glimmer of hope. You know what I mean? Whether if it's, oh, we're going to get a new coach, or, oh, we got new owners coming in, or, oh, we could see these young guys develop on our team. And it wasn't just like one guy like Surtain or whatever, but it was also like, Javante or maybe Marvin Mims, or even in the case of Drew Lock, like we had things to actually look forward to and maybe have hope for the next year. Raider fans have nothing. I mean, you could maybe say Brock Bowers, but they can't even be happy and excited about, getting a new head coach. Like they haven't fired Antonio Pierce or nothing, but it's like, they really can't afford another head coach. They're stuck with Antonio Pierce. Like the Raiders franchise is one of the, poorest franchises. Like, the owner is one of the poorest owners in the NFL. He's still paying, what's his name? They're still paying Josh McDaniels and they're still paying John Gruden. That, like, don't get me wrong, Antonio Pierce did, good last year for the Raiders. Whenever, Josh McDaniels got fired and he stepped in as the interim. they finally followed that right path, which I thought was right at the time for the Raiders. You did the same thing with Rich Bisaccia after John Gruden left. You put him as the interim head coach, and you should have hired him because he was actually a good coach. They did the same thing last year with Antonio Pierce. That Josh McDaniels got fired. They hired him as the interim, and they hired him. But yes, that was the right decision. I'm not going to go against that for the Raiders. But at the same time, I think that's all they could afford. Like, they couldn't go out and go coach hunting again. Like I said, they're still paying Josh McDaniels and they're still paying, John Gruden. So there's no way they could have went out and got another head coach. And like I said, the Raiders are a disaster. At least the Broncos in the past, when we were bad, we were losing these games, we always had something to look forward to. Even whenever we had Nate Hackett here, we knew by like week 5 of 2022, Hackett was going to get fired. It was just a question of when, not if. So we had the, whole, season to sit there like, oh man, who could be our new head coach be? The Raiders don't have that. They're stuck with Antonio Pierce for at least a couple more years. Let's see, like last year or 2022, and also it was the Russell Wilson thing. You'd be like, oh man, Russell Wilson, yeah, cool, let's go. This is before we knew what Russell Wilson actually was. And then, like I said before, 19, you had Drew Lock. Everybody was like, there was the majority of Broncos country was like, oh man, after the 2019 season, after those 5 games, we had 2020 to look forward to see what Drew Lock could become, to maybe see, what other young guys at the team at that time could do. Like, the Raiders don't have that. They got Brock Bowers, but there's literally no one else on that team. Like, Devontae Adams is wanting to trade out. He doesn't want to be there. Max Crosby, like, even though I think he's, stupid for wanting to stay in Vegas, I guarantee you eventually, he's not going to want to waste his entire career there. And he's going to want to go out and maybe try to win a Super Bowl. Like, they have nothing in Las Vegas to be proud of or look forward to. The Broncos always have. But, man, that was a dominating win. Big freaking win for the Broncos. We went on a 3-game winning streak. Now, and Bo Nix is looking amazing. Like, I don't care what y'all say. Like, Bo Nix is looking good. Like, every week he's getting better and better and better. He's more poised. He's more confident. He's, taking care of business. He's learning from the mistakes. Ever since, I think it was week 2. I think it was the last week. Week 3, week 4, and this week. He has not thrown a single interception. Not a single one. And good for him because, he got his first passing interception. I'm sorry, his first passing touchdown against the Jets, the only touchdown in that game. And then this past week, he got 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1, by just jumping across the line. But at the same time, Bo Nix should have had 3 passing touchdowns last week. If Troy Franklin hauls that freaking ball in, Bo Nix has 3 passing touchdowns and, I think, what is it, like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns this year Bo Nix would have. Like, this kid is improving week in and week out. This whole offense, even Javonte's starting to catch fire now. Like, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Javonte. Like, man, he just ain't got it no more. He can't run. He can't go more than 2 yards a play. Like, what are we going to do at running back? What's up, Muhammad? But it just sucked. It really sucked. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, watching Javonte play like that, it sucked. But now he's actually starting to come out and he's starting to come alive. This offensive line, we lost Mike McGlinchey a couple of weeks back. Pochesky's been freaking dominating over there at right tackle, which is nice. But now he's down. That's the sad part. Now he's down. They just re-signed an old Bronco, Cam Fleming, to the practice squad. I think it was yesterday. I'm pretty sure they put Palczewski on IR. They had him on they released the injury report today. Josh Reynolds did not practice. Alex Palczewski did not practice. And there was somebody else that didn't practice. I can't remember who it was. But I don't know if Palczewski's going to be ready for Sunday's game. If not, it's probably going to be Cam Fleming starting at right tackle. But this to me is just going to be another test for Bo Nix, knowing that the right tackle is probably going to be a problem this week. I don't know. I don't think Joey Bosa is playing. I think he's out like indefinitely for now. So we ain't got to worry about Joey Bosa. The only pass rush I'm really worried about in the Chargers D-line is Khalil Mack, and the guy is like old. Like, he's past his prime, in my opinion. So maybe the Broncos have a little bit better of a chance. But Bo Nix, he's going to be able to get the ball out quick. He's not going to take unnecessary sacks. Like last week, yeah, he had a couple gets, but it's Max Crosby. He's one of the best. I hate to say it, but he's one of the best pass rushers in the game. And going up against Palczewski, who did struggle, it was eventually going to happen. He's still a young guy. He's a backup for a reason. But I think Bo Nix is going to be smarter this week. He's going to get rid of the ball quicker. Knowing that you're going to have a tackle that you just signed this week, playing at right tackle, like Bo Nix and Sean Payton have to draw something up and get the ball out quick and run the ball, maybe to the left and right up the middle, maybe stack the right side. Maybe you can run it that way, or just get, like they were talking about bringing Frank Crum in and maybe having him as that, extra big guy on that side to maybe help Cam Fleming, maybe max protect over there. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of heavy sets this weekend, I would assume, to help protect that right side of Bo Nix to where he maybe can get the ball out, scramble, or we can run the ball. Cortland Sutton's starting to step up a little bit, which is nice to see. I'm happy to see that. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Like I said, Jaleel McLaughlin, he's been playing well. He had that big touchdown pass last week, the first touchdown pass for the Broncos. Kid's a freaking beast, man. Like he might be just small but he's fast and he makes guys miss. And that's a good thing. And then also breaking news that came out today, Audric Estime, I believe, will be back this week. Tyler Beatty, of course, is on IR because he got hurt during the Jets game. But we'll have Audric Estime back. I'm hoping he comes back and he runs angry. Like, I hope he just bulldozes and trucks over everyone this week. Because I have a feeling this week's game plan with, if Palczewski does not play at right tackle, I have a feeling this week they're going to be doing a lot of heavy set packages and they're going to be trying to run the ball a lot more this week, because if I was Sean Payton in that situation and you really don't trust the right tackle that's in there, if it's not Palczewski or, Mike McGlinchey, you got to protect Bo Nix. You can't have him back there, dropping back, he hasn't over the last couple of weeks had him drop back more than maybe no more than 30 times. But if he can just, I don't think he's going to have him drop back a lot this game, knowing the problem at right tackle and have Bo Nix's head get knocked off. So I think this is going to be a very run-heavy game for the Broncos. And with the way this defense is playing, I'm not even worried about it. Justin Herbert, who? I'm sorry, people, yeah, hindsight's 2020. People are saying now Aaron Rodgers is washed, this, that, and the other. But, when we went to New York, that wasn't the case. We didn't think Aaron Rodgers would wash. No one did. There was a lot of people that didn't even pick the Broncos to win that game. It was in New York. Broncos on back-to-back road games on the East Coast, stayed on the East Coast, and you're going up against Rodgers. No one thought that, there was a few people, but not very many. The majority of people thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to slice up this defense. And they didn't. So I'm not really worried about Justin Herbert. If we stop the run game, which this defense is one of the top defenses in the league in stopping the run game, they have no receivers. The Chargers has no one. Quentin Johnson, that's their best receiver. And Surtain is blocking down receivers 10 times better than he is. Riley Moss, same thing. I don't know who their next receiver is up after that, but Riley Moss locks them down. It's not going to matter. Justin Herbert in this offense, we already know Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. That's what he wants to do. He wants to establish the run. That's the reason why he went out and got Joel. That's the reason why they got rid of all their receivers. They want to establish a run and run the ball. This defense ain't going to allow them. Justin Herbert ain't going to have no one to throw to because the secondary is going to have these guys locked down. This is one of the best secondaries in the league. No one's going to be open. Justin Herbert can be able to get rid of it to nobody. The only person that really torched us this year was Brock Bowers. We might have a little problem with tight ends, but I don't even think the freaking Chargers even have a decent tight end. Brock Bowers was a number one pick, or he was a first overall pick for a reason. He was hyped up for a reason. He is a good tight end. I'll give you that. But the Chargers don't have a good tight end. They don't have good, receivers. Our secondary is going to be fine this week. If we stop the run against the Chargers, they ain't going to do crap. They will not do crap against us. Nothing. Justin Herbert's probably going to be running for his life. And I understand. Joe Alt, they drafted him. Their offensive line's pretty good. But you know what? They said the same thing about the Jets' offensive line. They said the same thing about, who was it? Nick Benito? He demolished freaking Tristan Wirfs, one of the best tackles in the game. Our pass rush demolished him in that win against the Bucks. Joel, a rookie, I'm not really too concerned about it. Like, but don't get me wrong, the Chargers defense is still pretty solid, but I don't think our offense is going to have a problem. Like, Joey Bosa's not there. It's not like you got an elite pass rusher you got to really worry about. People say Khalil Mack, but he's past his prime. Like, he's not nothing to sneeze at anymore. Like, I wouldn't even be concerned with that. This team is going to run the ball heavy this week. We're just going to pound it down the Chargers' throat. And our run games, like I said, with Javonte, finally starting to catch fire. Same with Jaleel. Now, Audric Estime coming back. Like, this team is going to run the ball down the Chargers' throat. The Chargers ain't going to be able to stop us. We're going to run the ball straight down their throat. And then Justin Herbert ain't got no one to throw to, especially since, he really ain't got no big name players on that side of the ball, tight end, wide receiver wise anyway. Our secondary is going to lock down whoever they do have. And all our defensive front's got to do is just shut down the run. And the Chargers are probably not going to score many points. I'll put money on that. So I'm excited about this week. I haven't done my predictions yet for this week. Like, I haven't done my predictions over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, I've been really busy. Last week I was sick. But I did pick the Broncos to I think I picked the Broncos to lose against Tampa Bay. No, I'm sorry. I picked them to beat Tampa Bay. I picked them to lose against the Jets. Because, I figured back-to-back road games, I thought they would, it would happen. Last week, I did pick them to beat the Raiders. And this week, I haven't decided yet. Like, I haven't really seen the Chargers. I mean, I know Joey Bosa is most likely going to be out. I want to look at their full, injury report. I usually don't make my predictions until Friday anyway, because I want to see what the final injury reports say for both teams. And like I said, today, Palczewski did not practice. Josh Reynolds didn't practice. There was another guy that didn't practice for the Broncos. I had to go back and look, and I got to look up the Chargers. But like I said, I'm not going to make my prediction until I see the injury reports, the last injury reports until on Friday. Once I see that, then I will make my, prediction. But I just feel like this team is going to stop the Chargers from running the ball. If you stop the Chargers from running the ball, they're not going to be able to do nothing. Like, it'd be one thing if our secondary was shaky and we didn't have PS2 and Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan just locking everyone down. That would be different. I would be a little scared then. But the fact that this secondary is locking down some of the best wide receivers in the game, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson. And this week, I mean, they really have a number one receiver. I mean, Brock Bowers. But, I mean, they really didn't have Surtain on him. It was like a linebacker trying to cover him. Or a safety. And honestly, tight ends, I just think, and honestly, I don't even think Brock Bowers did that well this week. Yeah, you can look at the stats and say, oh, yeah, he did that. His stats were really inflated by that first pass, where PJ Locke was in coverage. Like, if PJ Locke doesn't trip over his own feet, that's probably an interception, on Gardner Minshew, So I can't really say even Brock Bowers, like, tight ends are even that scary. I can't. I know I said that earlier in the video, but now thinking back on it, it's like, dude, if PJ Locke doesn't trip over himself, Brock Bowers doesn't get that touchdown. PJ Locke was right there underneath, and if he doesn't trip over himself, he probably picks the ball off. At the very least, he probably knocks it away. So this secondary is going to shut down whatever receivers or tight ends the freaking Chargers have. And as long as we shut down the run game, our defense is going to get after Justin Herbert. I ain't worried about that. They shut down the run game. And then this offense, like, people are talking about, oh, the Chargers are coming off a bye week. They got good defense, this, that, and the other. I'm like, I don't freaking care. They said the Jets defense was one of the most, they were second in the league. Yes, I understand we only scored 10 points, but our defense played even better against a better quarterback with better weapons, better running backs, and a better tight end, better receivers. The Jets had all that. They had a better, like, the Jets, to me, they're better than the Chargers. Maybe not play calling wise, but talent wise, like on the roster, the Jets had better wide receivers. They had a better quarterback. They had better running backs. They had a better tight end. They had a better O-line. Broncos throttled them. Like, 9 points, 3 field goals. That's all Aaron Rodgers got. I'm not worried about Justin Herbert and the Chargers weapons who were nobodies. And then, like I said, on the offensive side of the ball, like the Jets defense ranks second in the NFL. And now this is before Robert Saleh got fired. Like they ranked second in the NFL. Yes, the Broncos only scored 10 points, but I think it was because on the road game, second uh game on the road, you're in New York, you didn't come home, you're in the elements, Bo Nix in the elements on the road for a second game. You know, Bo Nix didn't turn the ball over. And he got whenever he needed to score a touchdown, he scored it. You know, um, so I'm not worried about it. We're going to be at home. It's going to be sunny this week here in Denver. Like, I'm not worried about the Chargers defense. They're not as good as I would say the Seattle defense, which Bo Nix scored 20 points on. I'm not worried about the Chargers defense because they're not the Jets defense, who, yes, we only scored 10 points, but we still beat them on the road in their house, back-to-back road games in the elements. Bo Nix is going to be fine against the Chargers defense. Like I said, the only concern I have is at right tackle if Palczewski does not start. And if that's the case, you keep tight ends over there. You bring Frank Crum in as an extra guy, and you just helped out, whoever it is, whether it's Cam Fleming or whoever it is they start at right tackle this week if it's not Palczewski. And just have Bo Nix get the ball out quick and run the ball down their throats, and you'll be fine. Like, this team and this fan base is riding high. Like, Chargers ain't going to do jack. And they're going to charge you. We have had the Chargers number for years. Yes, there's a couple of years in there where we split with them, but even the games we split with them, they're not even, like, they barely beat us. The Chargers cannot beat us. They're not going to win this week. It's not going to happen. The only game I'm really concerned about in this next 3-game stretch, and I was actually talking to some buddies of mine, was you got the Chargers this week at home. And I'm not worried about that. Like, after all the stuff I just listed, we're going to beat the Chargers. Then you got the Saints on the road, which it's going to be a short week because we got them next Thursday night in New Orleans. So, and it might not even be in New Orleans. Well, maybe. I mean, the storm's already passed down there in the Gulf. But you'll have them on the road in New Orleans. But here's the thing. There's two major things to that game. One, this is the one game outside of maybe that Steelers game in week 2, before the Russell Wilson injury. There was 2 games on Sean Payton's schedule this year that I guarantee you he had circled, and the main one was that Saints game. The second one was probably the Russ game, but Russ did not play, so that game really didn't. I mean, maybe in the standings it matters, but not as big as the game it could have been if Russ would have played. But this game against the Saints in New Orleans, Sean Payton's not going to want to walk in there and lose. He's going to do everything, and I mean literally everything, to win that game. He's not going to walk out of New Orleans with a loss. That's my opinion. And the fact that Derek Carr's out now, and they're going to be starting Spencer Rattler, what was he, a 4th or 5th round pick, rookie? Like, come on. That game's going to be a win for the Broncos. I have no doubt in my mind. These next 2 games are a win. Now, the next game, I think it's week 6, 7, 8. We have the Panthers here at home. Now, I know what you're saying. Like, Eddie, why wouldn't you say we wouldn't beat the Panthers? They're one of the worst teams in the league. I understand that. But my thought process is you're going to beat the Chargers this week in Denver. You're going to go on the road, beat the Saints. Then you'll have a mini bye because you play on Thursday night. You don't have to come back until the next Sunday. But this is my problem. Guess who the Broncos have after the Panthers? The next 2 games after the Panthers. I mean, the second one really doesn't matter, but after the Panthers game in week 8 here at home, they got the Ravens on the road in Baltimore. I'm just scared, honestly, that the Broncos are going to come home after that Saints game, beating the Chargers, beating the Saints, coming home, feeling high, riding high, feeling themselves, you know what I mean? Being 5-2, coming home, and they're just like overlooking the Panthers to look on to the next week to the Ravens. That's what I'm scared of. I hope that doesn't happen, but it happens a lot in the NFL where a team that's pretty good, like the Broncos, they get a couple of good wins. They go on the road, they get a good win. They come home and they got like an opponent they really don't, respect. That's not really a threat to anybody because they're one of the worst teams in the league. And then they got another game. The next game after that is a big game for them because it's like a really tough opponent, and they overlook the opponent that they're not really too concerned with. Like, I'm not saying I'm predicting a loss. I just hope the Broncos don't do it. I just hope they don't overlook the Panthers week 8 going on to the Ravens. But the last thing I want to touch on, I wanted to get your opinions on this, guys. Not really your opinions, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. Last week, the Broncos had 3 interceptions. 3. Of course, one was Patrick Surtain towards the end of the game. He was in coverage on Brock Bowers. That's another thing. Brock Bowers, Patrick Surtain was on him, made him look like a freaking kindergartner. Ball got tipped in the air. Surtain, he tipped it in the air, and he picked off his own tip, which was nice. And then the second one, this was like a big thing I've been hearing all week too. Riley Moss's interception. First white corner in the NFL in 20 years to pick off a pass. Riley Moss is the dude. I'm telling you guys that right now. But the biggest one, man, this is where I want to get your guys' thoughts. What were your thoughts on the PS2 pick 6? And it wasn't just a pick 6. It was 100 and I think 2 or 3 yard pick 6. Like, it was, dude, I was screaming like a girl watching the TV. Like, here we are. We're down 10-3. I think in the second quarter, the Raiders are on our 5-yard line knocking on the door. And I'm just like, oh, God, here we go again. We're going to go down 17-3 to the Raiders, and this game's practically going to be over, it felt like at that point. Instead, what happens? Gardner Minshew rolls out. Granted, I understand he had Jonah Ellis right in his face, but that's the game of football. Sails the pass high over Brock Bowers' heads. PS2 just like, nah, give me that. Whoop. Picks it, houses it. And honestly, the interception on that play wasn't like the pick 6 from Surtain wasn't even the best part of that play for me. Like, it was a good, don't get me wrong. It was an elite play. It was a great play. The pick by PS2 for a pick 6, great freaking play. Like, it's probably gonna be one of the big highlight plays of the year coming at the end of the year whenever they do like the best plays of the 2024 season. But honestly, to me, the best part of that whole entire play was when you see PS2 running down the sideline and you just see Jonah Ellis go like this to Gardner Minshew. Just plants him straight on his ass. I was laughing, dude. Like, Gardner Minshew just got pancaked. It was hilarious. That was just adding injury to insult. I'm sorry, insult to injury. Like, not only did Gardner Minshew make a bad play by sailing the ball over Brock Bowers' head for what would have been like, a TD to give them up to 17-3. Not only did he sail that over his tight end's head, and it got picked off by PS2, by the way, and housed for 6, but it was even worse for Minshew that he got pancaked on that play. Go back and rewatch the highlights. I mean, Jonah Ellis drove that man's soul into the ground. So, but anyway, guys, that's it for me tonight. I just wanted to go on here and make this video. I haven't really, like I said, been doing a lot. Like last week, I was really sick. The week before that, I just had a lot of stuff going on. But this coming up Sunday, me and Mohammed will be back on here talking about the game after the Chargers game. And we're probably going to talk about also the Robert Saleh firing. I know it's going to be a few days after. I didn't really touch on it here tonight because I want to leave that for Sunday, to get my thoughts and Mohammed's thoughts. But please come in Sunday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and join me and Mohammed as we recap the game and we go over the Robert Saleh firing. But if you guys would please like, comment, subscribe on this video, and please join us, like I said, Sunday night. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace.